Hollow Vale. The town of Willowside had a long history of mysterious disappearances. Locals spoke in hushed tones of the Hollow Vale, a dense, eerie fog that swept through the town without warning. The fog brought with it an unsettling silence, and those who ventured into it were never seen again. Some whispered that the fog was a living, hungry thing, preying on the unwary. Elena Mathis had grown up in Willowside, and like everyone else in the town, she had heard the old stories about the Hollow Vale, yet she had never truly believed them. Now, after living in the city for a few years, she was returning home for her mother's funeral. The journey was long, and Elena's mind drifted as she drove through the dark countryside. As she neared Willowside, a sudden, thick mist began to form. Elena's grip tightened on the steering wheel, and she slowed her car. The world around her was swallowed by the fog, and she could barely see beyond the hood of her car. She felt a shiver run down her spine as a deep sense of unease settled in her gut. The fog seemed almost tangible, and she fought the urge to turn around. When she finally reached her family home, she was surprised to find it deserted. The house stood dark and silent, its windows clouded with dust. She knocked on the door, her heart pounding in her chest. When no one answered, she tried the handle and found it unlocked. Hesitantly, she entered the house. The air inside was cold and stale. Elena called out for her father, but the house remained eerily silent. She walked through the rooms, searching for any sign of her father or any other family members who might have come for the funeral. Instead, she found the house in disarray. Furniture overturned, papers scattered across the floor. It was as if a violent struggle had taken place. Elena's fear deepened as she walked up the creaky staircase. The walls seemed to close in on her, and every step she took echoed through the empty house. When she reached her parents' bedroom, she found the bed stripped bare, the closet empty. She took a deep breath and entered the room, her eyes scanning for any clues. A faint scratching noise drew her attention to the wall beside the bed. She approached cautiously, her eyes narrowing as she tried to make out the source of the sound. The scratching seemed to be coming from behind the wall. With trembling hands, she pushed against the wood paneling, feeling for any loose boards. To her surprise, a hidden door swung open with a creak. A narrow, dark passage stretched into the unknown. Elena's instincts screamed at her to turn back, but something compelled her to enter the passage. She took a flashlight from her pocket and stepped inside. The passage twisted and turned, leading her deep into the bowels of the house. The air grew colder, and she could hear faint whispers echoing off the walls. The whispers seemed to come from all directions, and she couldn't make out any distinct words. After what felt like an eternity, the passage opened into a cavernous chamber. Elena's flashlight revealed ancient, decaying walls covered in strange symbols. At the center of the chamber stood a massive stone altar, stained dark with age. A heavy, oppressive atmosphere hung in the air, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from the shadows behind the altar. Elena's flashlight revealed the gaunt, twisted form of her father. His eyes were sunken, and his skin was pallid. He looked as though he had been through hell and back. "Dad!" Elena cried out, rushing toward him. But as she reached him, she froze in horror. Her father's mouth twisted into a grotesque smile, and his voice was no longer his own. It was the voice of something ancient and malevolent. "Welcome to the Hollow Vale, Elena," the voice said, echoing through the chamber. "Your time has come to join us." Elena tried to back away, but the floor beneath her feet seemed to shift, trapping her in place. The whispers grew louder, and she could see figures emerging from the shadows. Townspeople she recognized, all with the same vacant, haunted expressions. The fog outside thickened, and the whispers rose to a deafening roar. Elena's flashlight flickered, and then went out, plunging the chamber into darkness. The last thing she heard before she was swallowed by the veil was her father's voice, twisted and chilling. "There's no escape, Elena. The Hollow Vale claims all."